So I'm very happy to introduce the lab to you. Let's start. So what's the objective for the lab? Like, why are we starting the lab? What's the driving factor for us? Right? We heard so much about taking jobs and impact to the human society. Correct? So how do we simplify this? Correct? I have a problem. I need a solution. I need to reach out to somebody to talk about it. Correct? It's getting to that level. Correct? Like, and we may not realize at this point, but it's going to be that level. I need to talk to someone to understand what they need to do for me, either business, personal, professional, doesn't matter. Right? So we need a system, we need a place where we can go and start. And that's what I'm thinking of. And we are here in 3 months. Okay? So how do we make this as an open platform for anyone to come and ask about it? Right? So there is so much information out there. I'm not questioning, I'm not saying no to that. Right? So if you go out to Google, you go to YouTube, you go out anywhere, right? You find so much information. But where do we start? How do we go? What are my next steps in terms of transition? Right? So there's no clearly defined answers. Right? So we need a platform such as a simple, easy to access. Correct? Not everybody is scientist, not everybody is engineer, not everybody is PhDs. Correct? We are ordinary people. So that is why, for community, by community, it's a platform with a vision to bring a simplified way to provide a solution or consulting or advisory or transition, whatever you want to call. Correct? So we have a platform where you could go. So that's our mission. For the community, by the community, easy access, simple to follow. All right. Why is now? Okay. So as we studied the market, right? Like, it's not ANG to everybody. Everybody knows what artificial intelligence could do, and we started the journey. We started with the traditional AI, right? Where we built simple machine learning models, we did predictive models, and things like that. Now, industry's been advanced, correct? So there's no reason for us to keep doing the same thing. Industry advanced a little bit. That's when you got generative AI came into the picture, large language model came into the picture. But it's not just asking questions. It's not about going to ChatGPT and asking a question, getting a response, correct? But how do we bring to on my day-to-day business, correct? Whether it could be public sector or it's a private sector, profit, non-profit, how do we bring this into a business, correct? So that's where it's getting it right now. The agentic AI, it's almost building an invisible human, correct? You have a human, you can touch and feel how the human looks, correct? But it could perform the same thing what a human could do, correct? And that is the state it's getting it right now. It's no longer asking a question, getting an answer. It's no longer predicting something and doing something, right? It is getting to a point where you are trying to build an invisible human, where the human is going to function like a real human, right? So that is the state it is getting us to. That's why we thought like it's the right time to get started something. As we said, our goal is to, for community, by community, make things simple. Ordinary people could access all this kind of knowledge, skills that we need actually. All right. So what the lab could do, as we talked several times, if you have an idea, if you want to build, we have a place to build. Okay. Second, if you want to get trained, there's a place. You could come to us, we'll get you trained, we can go from there. So let's say I have no thoughts on how to solve this problem, we could do research, correct? So research, it's more industry focused, not necessarily an academic. We are not an academic institution, right? We are not like MIT or Stanford, Harvard type of academic institution. How do we solve industry problems? Industry problem requires sometimes maybe research. There's so many talk about the model is not providing a consistent deterministic response. When I ask the question, the same question, it's not getting the same response next time when you ask. How do you solve this problem? Correct? So there's no answer, correct? We need some research, correct? So that kind of research could be done here actually. Then obviously, correct, there's the societal value here, correct? So how do we upskill this one? I've been in industry for 20 years, 30 years, 10 years, 15 years, correct? But I want to be in this journey. I want to get involved. How do I upskill myself, right? So these problems are not answered at a level that where it reaches the ordinary people, right? As I said, not everybody goes to Stanford, not everybody goes to MIT, right? So we are people mixed up different skills, different level, different learning experience. How do we bring an ecosystem where we could provide all of those? So the lab primarily focus on building applications. Okay, if city want to look at something, okay, city want to find out where am I spending my money? Okay. Is this money is getting realize the spend that what I'm making to the city is this being realized, correct? So how do we analyze all of such complex data sets, correct? So if you want to build something, we have a platform we could build along with you. And if you want to get trained, we provide training as well. And research, yes, and then upstream. So these are the primary focus what the lab is going to do. All right. So what industry we are primarily focusing on? I'm not saying that we are going to solve any problem, every problem that happens around us. Okay? So we have a team who specializes in this one. I myself primarily work on public sector. So I focus on state and county and city several different levels. So if there's a need for providing problems or solving problems in public sector, we can. And healthcare, consumer, energy, manufacturing, retail, commercial real estate. So I would say quickly, the commercial real estate market, actually, we are currently helping the government of Singapore on implementing public safety and building compliance. Correct? Any building that you have that requires operated in a certain standards and conditions, correct? Air quality, fire safety. So these are all need to be constantly monitored, measured, and reported efficiency. So it's a very complex problem to solve. Correct? It's not an easy problem. It's not just going and uploading a document and asking a question, getting a response. So these are a very complex problem. So how do you solve this problem? So bottom line, you are ensuring publics are safety and you are providing a compliance at a scale. It functions by independently without any human involvement. So we have several industries. So these are the industries where we have worked, we have expertise, we can help you. All right. How does the research take place? So let's say if you want to do some research along with this, right? So the research in terms of what exactly the research is going to be focused on. As I said, it's not an academic industry, academic focused research, it's fully industry based, right? So you have a problem, you want to solve the problem, right? So start from something very basic, foundation, correct? So our research roadmap starts from something that teaching you understand the foundations, correct? So once we understand, then start the building model. And then do a pilot. Okay, once the pilot is done, then deploy, right? So when I say research, to think that just we are sitting and doing academic based research on a very abstract concept level, correct? These are all real industry problems. You take the problem and then do research on this problem. So so we don't have a solution, correct? When we get to research, that means there is no predefined solution readily available, correct? Whether it's a Google or a Microsoft or AWS, no one is providing this kind of solution. We want to get started, correct? So this is the roadmap to solve industry problem, research-based approach, right? So when I say research-based approach, there is no predefined solution. There is no answer to the question that what you're looking for. You start somewhere. And this is a journey and this is a roadmap that what we're thinking about. All right. Now let's talk about why do we want to introduce this Agentic AI Architect program. Okay. So everybody knows at this current state, the basics about artificial intelligence, it's not new to anyone, correct? We all know this one, correct? It's not something that we are coming out of school and trying to understand this once. We all industry professionals, we all know what it is, correct? So what is really needed to solve these kind of complex problems, correct? So there are so many different ecosystems involved, correct? So when you go into real world, correct, you are not just dealing with only AI. There is other supporting tools, supporting systems, and processes involved, correct? So how do we connect all the dots? So connecting all the dots needs much more critical thinking, correct? Critical thinking. So how do we make someone to be critical thinking? So that is why we kind of structured this one, be an architect, correct? You understand the problem, you realize, visualize what the problem is going to be, then come up with a solution and go towards provide an end-to-end problem-solving approach, and that is how this program is structured. The Agentic AI Architect program was structured. So I can talk more at the end in case there's any questions. We are willing to take your questions and we can answer this one. But at a high level, the idea of this program make you be a critical thinker, make you be an end-to-end solution provider who can understand from problem all the way to build, test, and deploy everything. So how do you connect all the various dots that's involved to build a scalable AI solution? So that's the objective of this program. It's currently designed for 12 weeks. Doesn't mean it's going to be 12 weeks. It depends on how, because we are also experimenting. And based on how the learning outcome comes in, based on the learner's experience, we may adjust this one, but at this moment, it's designed for about 12 weeks program, and it's completely hands-on, and it is going to be based on real-world industry use cases, actually. So that's the objective for this architect program. All right. some of the use cases which you are going to see. The one of the use case that I built on Mr. Murali, document intelligence. We already have a platform which kind of that's the similar thing. I just added some of these use cases that what he asked for actually. So document intelligence, one of the use case we are going to look at it. The second is the Fab Orchestrator, which is Senthil is going to talk about the manufacturing automation, correct? So when you go to manufacturing floor, there are so many moving parts, correct? You have engineers, you have quality control people, and you have operational procedures and operating people. So how do you orchestrate across all different humans, correct? You need a centralized system, and that's what this Fab Orchestrator does, correct? And we also have solutions on customer and contact center and energy efficiency. And also I talked about the building and public safety, and then the re-entry care plan. So this is one of the things that we did for the Alameda County. When someone releasing from the jail, we don't want to open the door and let them go, just walk them out, correct? But we need to find a way to get them enrolled into a society. How do you re-enter them back to the society and understand their behavioral health, correct? So that's pretty powerful. So we did that kind of work as well. And the last is budget analysis. This is for the primarily the state agencies. So state agencies wanted to find out so how much money I've been spending, where the money has been spent, what the outcome of this money, and what's the impact in terms of the external factors, which is the inflations and market conditions, how that is going to impact my budget actually. So that's the other use case. So these are some of the use cases. Doesn't mean we are going to only work on these use cases. In case if we have a use cases, you bring it as we'll all put together. All right. The point that I wanted to highlight actually, so beyond all the things what I talked about, to make this work in a real world or in a business circumstances, people need to trust on your solution and ensure you have a safety, secure, trustable responses from the model, correct? So if you are using AI, make sure the customer who's going to use this one, the end user who's going to use this one, they are trusting the solution what you're providing. So how do we build a safe, secure, trustable applications or solutions using AI? So that's the key success factor, correct? Just because I'm building something doesn't mean everybody's going to use, correct? We have to ensure, correct, the end user, the people who's going to use this one, they are trusting what you're building. They are accepting what you are going to deploy for them actually. So of course you are simplifying their jobs. We are helping them to be very productive, correct? But at the same time, there is a humanity behind the scene, correct? They need to understand this one. So this is also part of our lab to ensure, correct, you understand when you are deploying a solution, how do you make sure the recipient of the solution are trusting or they feel secure and they feel it is responsible. That means something goes wrong, somebody has to be responsible. Who that would be, correct? So, and what to do, what not to do. Ethically, this is what you're supposed to do, but you are doing this in a way it's not ethically right. So how do you ensure all those things? So that's kind of a practice. So part of our lab will also help you to understand all these aspects. Okay, so how do I get involved? Obviously, again, this is not a sales pitch. Again, as I said, it's an open platform. It's by community for community. So you could get enrolled with this. And you will find mentors. Okay, it's just not me. There are people behind. So you'll get to access to the mentors. And you can also be partnered with this. And of course, we will host events. Our goal is to go across the Bay Area and provide this as a platform and make it easy to accessible for everybody, correct? So we want to ensure, so this goes across the board, everybody get benefit out of it solution. In case, if anybody will be sponsored for this events, such events, we are willing to host this event as well actually. So these are the different ways you can get involved. So feel free and reach out to us, we'll go from there. All right, I kind of talked about it, you can connect with us, there is an application process. And once they're done, then there's an onboarding process. Then we can start on the build process. Correct? That's how it works. And in terms of the architect program, what we talked about is so it's a totally program. So this is just to give you an impact, so how we are making an impact to the community. So we spoke to the city, we spoke to all the elected officials, and we kind of came together to form this one actually. So this is to highlighting so how many cities we are targeting, how many weeks we are targeting this program, and also that's what this is. All right, so I'm going to skip this one. Let's move on. So now this is the fun part. Okay, so this is where we thought so we could help you out actually. So this is the use case. Mr. Murali Srinivasan asked me to build actually. We built for him actually. So I would like to talk to him. I would like to give him some kind of introduction about what this use case is all about and why he wanted us to do this use case, so that you will get the context from the real customer, correct? Before I go on to the technicality.
Wow. So, as I talked earlier, city government has got a lot of data, and then one of the things I think the previous slides talked about this. That is, we need, when we give something back to the community, to the residents, any resident-facing application, it should be authenticated. And then I think one of the last bullet item there was human in the loop. I forgot to mention that. And then that was one of the recommendations or the guardrails we did when we did the AI advisory committee framework for local governments. So this project, one of the, as we all know, council meetings are agendized, and then minutes of the meetings are all publicly available. And then we have in Sunnyvale, like most of the cities, have years and years of data available. And then there is no way to figure out what happened in, say, even the last meeting, if forget about last 20 years back, what happened. And then the problem we are trying to solve here is there are different types of documentation, documents, PDFs, the minutes of the meeting, video, audio, all these kinds of things. How do we extract data from that? And then how do we question and then get some response? For example, what was Sunnyvale's response to all the El Camino Real plan? What exactly we decided and when it was decided? That today we cannot answer that unless we go through a normal query will not happen. You cannot do that because it's, first of all, the data format itself is varied, but more importantly, it's not in a single location. I am a cloud architect, and then even data lake wouldn't have solved this problem. So this was the problem, and then Jyoti will, I haven't seen the solution, so I'm really excited to see the solution.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Murali. So before I go to the demo, let me quickly show you a few things, correct? So document intelligence, I'm sure you all very familiar with Microsoft Copilot, correct? When you go to Microsoft Copilot, it will let you ask a question, it answers this one. But in the real world, it's just not a Microsoft Copilot, correct? It's so very complex, correct? Like, if you're dealing with procurement, correct? So you have an RFP, the RFP is released, there's 100 vendors applying for this RFP. That you cannot handle through Microsoft Copilot, correct? Microsoft Copilot can read a simple email, or an Excel document, or a Word document, something very lightweight. You cannot build rules on it, correct? Like when I say rules on it, in a procurement document, you have different classification, such as, correct, mandatory costs. If you meet all the mandatory costs, your point is 15. If you don't meet, your point is XYZ, correct? Then cost, then expertise, etc. What is this? So these are all evaluation criteria. Can I do this in Microsoft Copilot? Answer is no. Answer is no. And that is when we need an agentic AI solution. Okay, so this is a full-scale agentic AI solution. Okay, so if you have any questions on agentic AI technicality, we can take it offline, we'll discuss. But all practical purpose, understand this is not Microsoft Copilot where it's a chat interface where you can go and ask a question and get a response. It is very complex, correct? So, and this is a full-scale agentic AI solution. So behind the scene, what functions we have? It understands as certain aspects of finance, planning, budgeting, forecasting. As a city, what is my budget? How do we plan for this, correct? So you could imagine product like SAP, correct? They have very core in finance and accounting, and they build something like planning, budgeting, forecasting. And this does very similar to this, okay? But there is no hard-coded rules. What it means, it understands what it sees in the data sets, and it builds its own algorithm, correct? And that is how it was built actually. So this particular document, intelligence for Mr. Murali, focused on finance. Then looking at legislative code, correct? So what it means actually, I want to know under the circumstances what code I should be using, correct? As a human, I'm trying to describe. So I drove a car under the influence of alcohol. It's a violation. What like a legislative code that I should be using this one, correct? I'm just giving you an example. It's not meant that way, correct? So certain scenario needs legislative code. So how do we look such codes? Okay. Then in a large enterprise, if you look at like franchisee tax code, there's thousands of projects, correct? You can't manage with Microsoft projects. Okay, why? There's so many different ways to look at a project, correct? So time is not just a one project. As an enterprise, we are looking at all the different projects, how it's running, correct? So how could it bring an enterprise view to a project management, correct? Even though it is so much maturity in the project management, but still we are struggling to provide an enterprise view on across all different projects that happen. Like take a company like IBM, Chanakya is there, correct? So how easy to tell how many projects are on time across IBM? It's practically impossible, correct? Even though you have project manager, you have project management tools, but this will enable you to look at project management across all enterprise, correct? In enterprise-wide, I can look at all the different projects by time, cost, risk, procurement, communication, human resource, whatever it is, correct? I can look at this. Then Mr. Murali also asked me about city meetings. Hey, I'm sitting in this meeting, they're talking so much about it, but end of the day, I need a summary, correct? I need what was spoken, correct? I need a comparative study, what did they talk about, correct? So how could I use such data to get insights on a meeting notes, which could be spoken, which could be written, which could be anything, correct? So how could I take this one? So that's another thing we talked about. And I talked about procurement. So in this experiment, we use the data publicly available on Sunnyvale, Fremont, Santa Clara, correct? So these are all data that's not put from your systems. It's publicly available. Any resident, anyone, any citizens or anybody who has access to this website, they all can go and look at it actually. So that's what bringing the scene. And as I said, it's a full-scale Agentic solution. This is not a Microsoft Copilot type of a solution. All right. So, and that's why we put it here. GovDoc is beyond Microsoft Copilot, and it reads and checks, decides. Okay. So I will go ahead and log in. So this is the kind of login page that we have. So once I logged in, it gives you different functions. So you could see there are a lot of different functions in a document intelligence we can do. So I talked about rubrics, which is nothing but evaluation criteria. I can define under what condition I want to evaluate this document. I can look at the document, I can evaluate, I can add more rubrics, correct? So when I say rubrics, I said so I'm trying to procure a software, I'm trying to procure a service. Now I have 100 people bid for this product. So how do we define under what criteria I'm going to procure this one? And that's what rubric does. So not just only procurement, anything that you want to define as a condition that in a document that I'm going to look for, and based on the condition, I want to take an action. Okay? If the condition met, and this is what I'm going to do. If the condition doesn't meet, I'm not going to do this one. Right? So you could define such rubrics in a way the model can understand. All these are all behind the scene. An instruction goes to the agents. Okay? All these things, what we are doing here, it's an instruction for the agent to understand this one. So it is a lot more involved. I'm just going to quickly go back, so the point that I was trying to make. So now the demo purpose, I'm going to go on to search and ask. So this is where what we are going to look at actually, right? So there's a lot of different things behind the scene. I am not going to that level of detail. So assume it is an agent. You are directly talking to an invisible human who could understand your question and they're going to answer this question. I have some sample prompts. I'm going to take those prompts and then and explain to you actually. So this is for an RFP. Okay, and I do have some other prompts. First, let me go with what, not this one, 1 second. Yes. So these are some of the prompts that, based on my conversation with Mr. Murali, I was able to come up with actually. So I'm asking about the total operating budget for this one actually. So this is again based on the information that is provided on the public website, correct? So this is a question: what is the Sunwell's total operating budget for fiscal year 2025-2026, correct? So it is not I'm not saying this is very difficult to build. It's easy to build. It's not that difficult actually. So all it is doing right now, it understands on the fly, it has something we built, it's called MCP. And I'm sure the people know the technicality, it's called Model Context Protocol. So it knows where to go and get the data. And these are all not hard-coded rules, correct? A decision that dynamically made, correct? So when I say decision dynamically made, based on your prompt, we write the MCP tool and server on the fly, okay? And it's not a hard-coded rule. So it is something that's driven based on your prompts. So that is the beauty of building an AI system. In the traditional way, we hard code all those things, correct? If the question is this and do this. If question is not this, don't do this one, correct? In this context, we are not doing any of those. And not even a single line of code is written, correct? So based on your prompt, we understand your intent, your context. The intent and context drives behind the scene the agent to function. So it understands where to go and what to do, and it's able to find. So I don't know whether this numbers are right or not, but Mr. Okay, okay. So all right. So that is just for an example to understand this one. So now I'm going to compare this one with the other cities. Like let's say I'm asking about compare the spend of Fremont, the same thing for the public safety spending actually. So I'm asking the agent, hey, not just only telling me like how much money has been spent. So can you also tell me how's the comparison of this one actually? So compare Sunnyvale's versus Fremont in public safety spending. Allow just to show me in the chart actually. So it's going to basically compare these two cities spent for the category that what you asked for, and it is going to tell you so this is how much it's able to find actually. So here you could see it is very similar to what a human could do, correct? So when I say human could do, so we understand the question, we analyze what has been asked for, and we go and look for data. Once we collect the data, then we prepare and produce the report actually. So here also same thing. Yes, sir.
I want to. This is so amazing for two reasons. In Sunnyvale, public safety combines police and fire. Here, the agent identified that and then extracted. Whereas Fremont, there are two departments, police and fire. So it extracted. Thank you very much. This is really smart.
Thank you, sir. And you can also interact, correct? So when I say interact, it's not a static answer, correct? So that means if we have a question, correct? So I can ask this one. I don't know whether it's going to tell me of this one actually. So I can ask this one. So can you show me the line item for the spend? Actually, so I can ask them actually. So 1 second. So you can work on interactively. Can you show me the line item for this spend? Sorry. So what I meant to say, the intent and context, what the agent need to understand. So once you understand the intent and context, in our case, on the fly, it creates the MCP server and connector. So the MCP server is nothing but an instruction to the agent where to go and look for the data and access the data, right? So that's just, you could imagine an API call that you're making actually, correct? So it is trying its best to tell where this line item spends are coming in actually, correct? So the point is, it is not a static information. It is a system letting you to interact directly, answer any question as and when things happen on your mind, correct? So it is basically as I said, another person standing behind you and answering your question, you don't know who that person is, correct? So that is where it stands. Okay, so this is one of the use case what Mr. Murali asked for. The second one he asked for about the city council meeting notes, correct? So this is his question, correct? So he wants us to find out, so this is a prompt. Okay, let me take this one first and then we'll talk about it actually. So I'll go back, I'll do refresh to make sure actually this is clean and looks fine. So the question that what was asked for here. So what did the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission say about holonic bike lanes, whatever this is? Okay, so I'm sure Mr. Murali knows more about it actually. So it's just based on his instruction. So now this was the topic was spoken and this information was found. And it is going to find citation, where it found, when it found, and all those information about, right? So you could see it talks about things that in a summarized way. So it talked about so in this particular forum, they talked about all the different things. So maybe like Mr. Murali can explain this one. Here you could see citations, and this is basically the date and time and where it found all this information. So it is not just made up, and there's a lot of talk about the model is producing a random response. That is not true. It is a question: how do you make the model to work for you? Correct? And that is not easy task. That's not like going out on ChatGPT and asking a question and getting a response. Correct? That needs very deeper insights on model behavior. Correct? How does the model behave? Correct? So it is not an easy question to answer when a model is not responding what you're looking for. When a model produces random responses, when model says something different than what you expected, how do you make sure the model understands what you're asking for, and how do you get the consistent and deterministic response? Correct? So this is basically tells the citation where this information has been found, right? So I'm sure you know this one, sir. I'm not an expert in the space, so I wouldn't be able to comment this one. If you want to say anything, that's fine.
Thank you very much. Allenbeck is a major thoroughfare north-south, runs north-south in Sunnyvale. And then it's a two-lane road, that is one lane in each direction. And then there is parking space on both sides for the residents. The problem we were trying to solve, the issue was bike and pedestrians wanted the parking space to be removed and then converted to a bike lane. The question is, should it be done or shouldn't it be done? So we went through, first it goes to Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, BPAC, and then comes to the City Council on 9/30th, 2025. I think it was later than that. But anyway, so there were all these public comments, and then these are the public comments. I can read that. Of course, there is some spelling mistake, but overall, it's all very, very valid. And then public spoke about for and against the issue. So we could then make a determination. And then this is what the power is. And then, as I said, it's unstructured data. It's spoken by public. So there is no database or formatting or anything. So it did analyze and then come up with the right answer in this case. Thank you.
All right, so thank you. Considering the time, I'm going to quickly just show you two more things, then I'll move on. I'm going to hand over to Senthil. He's going to talk about the Fab orchestrator. So this is on the understanding in a city council meeting what has been spoken, and it could be in various forms. It's not just only reading a document, correct? It could be voice, it could be text, it could be image. You could do all of those, correct? So you could summarize everything and then bring it to a state where the user and end user can quickly understand what was the decision made and what's the next step, what's the next course of action. So you don't need to read through all this document. We don't need to read through this, sit down and look at all this, talking points, correct? We can use this type of tools and get a summary of what needs to be done immediately as the next step, correct? Let's move on. So the next one, I talked about complex procurement. This is one of the things that what I feel is quite fascinating, correct? So I have a procurement process. I have 100 vendors. I don't want to go through each of those vendors. I need a fact-based, evidence-based decision-making process, correct? Out of all the 100 vendors, which vendor I want to work with, why and how, correct? So that's what this is actually. So this is looking at all the RFPs, responses, and see which response meets my expectation and why, how, correct? So that's what this is. So this is the, 1 second, I'll copy and paste this one. I will explain this. So I'll go back. So this is, let's say you are proposed, you want to score a proposal, sorry. So score the proposal of Sunnyvale's marketing and communication RFP against the RFP's evaluation criteria. We define the criteria. I use sample data, I define the criteria. You could define any criteria. So these are the criteria that on which I want to look at the proposal or evaluate the proposal. So that's what I'm asking for. Now you could see it, look at the RFP. Okay, it understands what are the criteria that needs to be there. So it says what is the RFP for. It tells you everything. And then it also gets to the point where you could make a decision on this. So all I'm trying to say, any complex documents, correct, can be brought to the level where end users can use in a fraction of seconds immediately, right? So that's the power. And this requires deeper, I would say, technical understanding how all these things are working and making sure actually the transformation of the business problem into an AI solution. So behind the scene, that's what it is, correct? It's not easy, it is doable. Okay, it tells you how much point this proposal score, the RFP score, correct? So it's a sample data. Okay, it could be different in the real world, but the point I'm trying to make you understand, if we have any complex process such as procurement process, you could imagine Department of Transportation, correct? So when an RFP is released, some of them are $1 billion, correct? Some of them are $1 billion, correct? And close to 300 to 400 vendors are applying for, correct? So how do you go through such a large, complex procurement process, correct? You need a system like this, and that's what this does, correct? All right, thank you all. With that said, I'm going to hand over to Senthil. Please go talk about the Thank you. If you have any question, hold on to it. I will take it after this demo. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. So far, like you saw, right, like on public use cases, this is kind of an enterprise level. That's what I was trying to explain to you. So this is based on MES, meaning manufacturing execution system. In a simple form, what MES does is that if you are making a product, even let's say like simple a cookie you are making, it says, hey, these are the raw material you need, and then these are the process you need to go through, and then each process you need to test for quality parameter, whether this process is being done or not done. Some of them, if done properly, will do the next step. Some of them can go to the rework. Even rework also, you cannot do the multiple rework. There is a restriction. You can do it. You can do the rework twice, right? Or if you do it more than 3 times, then you have to scrap it. Similarly, if you go a semiconductor, we do the wafer process. We apply the the wafer in a AP machine. Then they will check the thickness. Okay, that's supposed to be checked. Thickness we need to check, and then surface we need to check. All those can be done. Even now, I think we are working with the semiconductor, right? Our AI can able to detect it's a scratch versus it's a dust. Those are the use cases we are working on it. I'm really giving you here as an enterprise, right? For example, if you are managing any application, the first one is insight, right? Anybody can able to do the insight. Like it is very easy. But what we done beyond that is like a support engineer. That means we have anytime when you have any ticket, you've got L1 ticket, we call them. What is the L1 ticket mean? You guys can be able to tell us. What is the L1 ticket mean? Anyone? Not like that, right? L1 means normally if anything that you can solve just the configuration and setup without adding any code. So that's why normally L1. L2 means there may be a bug fix that you still need to do some of the coding and you need to apply. L3 means a solution. Right, that you cannot be able to solve right away, that you need to again go back to the board and say that, hey, what was the function requested, how was the change request that you want to do. That's how it's been classified in the software industry. Right? But then if you go to that, basically support industry, that's different. Right? I'm just talking about purely as a software that we are a product company, we are deploying the product, and then the product there is an issue, then operator reports there's a bug, and then right away the AI can pick up. So here, so basically all when we have the AI support engineer, our support engineer goes and picks up, saying that okay, there's a ticket issue, then you are able to solve it with the knowledge base. If not able to solve it, then as people mentioned, you put a human feedback, saying that okay, with the knowledge base what I have, I cannot be able to solve, right? Then it raises to the ticket to the human, then somebody else solve. Once someone else solves it, then it picks up the knowledge base, that's how it's being over the thing. It's right. But on the certain things as a like the product, it's understand the configuration. That's the biggest the good part about this. You don't need to teach them that, for example, you go to this table and then do this or this functionality you call. The way it's being built is when you do the context and the prompts, so it goes to MCP, not going to the LLM. It goes to the MCP server, build the MCP server, and then the MCP server has a capability, it can call directly the native of the API. So basically, right, if you say, let's say I want to do that last start, right? I'm not doing it like last start, like by a call, okay, get last start, let's say, for example, some function, or get the history. So, but when you do that, then it basically the product understands it has to go to multiple tables. So that's what it will. I think that is a differentiation, like whatever, even in fact, I went to the conference, there were two conferences, one in Hanover, okay, that is for like a completely entire world of semiconductor and even semiconductor automobile. You can see that every industry was there. Like, and then we went to realize like with Siemens. Everybody talk about like they have all the solution, but not a lot many people know even you can build the MCP on the fly. I think that's what I understand, like what Jody can help you guys. So that's why we use, as I told you, right? You need always need to work with the expert, and then the expert will train us, and then that training will take you to the next level. So that's the reason I want to talk to everybody, saying that, hey guys, okay, so that's something we can able to teach you or can able to help you to like fine tune your or retool your knowledge quick and right. So those are the things. And then also modeling agents. So basically in our business, if you are in the ERP, you always have a business system unless who does the model. Right? Anything modeling they will do. So similarly, if you go to that functional analysis, you have functional analysis, or have technical, techno-function, all kind of things. So that's what we are thinking is we are training, we are teaching AI to understand how the front-end development, how the back-end development it does. But it's not does all the coding, as I said. So it helps you to speed up your look at your user story and pick up the user story, build it and give it to you. Then as an expert, you are making sure it's done correctly. When you don't want to put a system go live and then you are getting into the problem. So human is always in the feedbacks, that's how they do it. So these are the module actually we are working on it. But I think right now the Fab Insight and Fab support module, both of them are already live. The other two the backend is we are working on it. Modeling also we can able to do using the file, we already done that also. I just I don't want to go bore of too many things. I just want to show you as interactive system I build. But normally the reason why I want to show you, people always they're thinking that when you open it up, they think that it looks like a ChatGPT, right? But if you want to give them a native ChatGPT, basically it is a prompt that you are asking the natural language, and internally it calls the MCP server and it goes based on the functionality to the data. That's how it's been done. So even it's very easy to connect. The reason I was telling you also, initially we were thinking only MES in my mind, because that's a problem I want to solve. That's why I started working on manufacturing. As I mentioned, I trained them to MES. In fact, actually the good thing is when I tell them, okay, give me the lot history. For example, in the op center we call them lot or container. If you go to the other product, they call them as a material ID. But it understand. I never said that when I say give me even container, in respect to the product, it knows, oh no, this product called not a container, they call the material ID. And then similarly, it knows that okay, if I'm in one product, I need to go to the material history, lot history table. Here is a material history table. All those it's learned by itself. So that's a that's a feature that we want to show you. Also, we can connect any of them. If you look at the connections, all of them MCP server. I'm just take all of them out because I don't want to connect. Because this is basically going to help you, right? For example, when you have multi-site, right? So you don't need to you don't need to bring the data, right? AI are normally UIs and those, right? You are not going to do a ETL and then do the data warehousing, bring it to the data lake. So you don't need to do all those things. So basically, I can tell them that okay, I want to connect my site 1 and site 2. For example, sometime what will happen? You start the product in one factory front end, and it goes to the second factory, and then it goes to the third factory for assembly. But I can connect all those three. Then I can be able to run that. Give me a complete genealogy report. It can be able to do. It knows that I have to start from the first 10 step here, second step here, something like that. That's how it works, right? I'm just taking only one case. So now I'm just asking you now. Okay, basically, I'm going to show you this, right? So I will go simply. I'll ask you, okay, give me the product, and then with the product, I'll also give me the insight, right? Normally, We just want to understand the product inside. It's not just understanding the product, right? In the manufacturing world, like as I said, you have a process, you are bringing the raw material. Maybe I'll let me do that. Like my prompting will take some time by the time I can able to give you. Okay, I'm just telling you, right? List of products with what does that mean? I just don't want all the product. They give me the product which has a WIP. It means it has a quantity. It goes and then it's bringing all of them, including it will say the WIP quantity also. Then after that, I will try to figure out one of the product and then go and then give you the analysis of the product. I will be able to show it to you guys. Right? So it's only if you look at it, right? It's only pulling the product which has a WIP. So now I'm just picking up the IPG. So basically, I need to go for my meeting, right? So that as a guy, when I walk into the meeting, I need to give them, okay, hey, today we are running IPG product, when it can be delivered, what are the bottlenecks. So I want to give them all the insight of the product, right? But now, if you ask somebody, you have to pull two guys, then they have to run multiple reports. They can download from WIP report, look at the quantity, where all it's sitting. And the other guy go and look at what are the equipment, what are the equipment status. Other guys goes and say that, okay, I need to now connect it to my other system, which is the maintenance management. Okay, then somebody is there, a couple of tools is down, and then they need to analyze why it's down. Or tool to tool variation. Some tool do the good product, some tool do not do the good product. Normally we use Six Sigma. Okay, we will use a Six Sigma and lean manufacturing, multiple technology to solve this problem. But all those embedded here now. So what I'm going to ask is, don't worry about my English. We can also figure out my spelling mistake. Download into PPT. In fact, actually, what I do before I go to, I upload my PPT, companies, because this is another problem, right? People always run it. Let me run it, right? Then basically it will create the PPT. It comes with some format. But every company you have your format. What I do, I just give them already my template also. So whenever I say, okay, I need the meeting, I need I need this in this template. I wrote the template first, then it's understand it, including the color pattern and everything. Okay. Now basically what it does is it's generating. First it goes and look for the product, and then the product will be multiple steps, as I told you, right? It's a baking step you have, but this is a real product. But I'm just giving an example. You have a baking, and then after that you are mixing, baking, and then all quality. Similarly, it goes to every product. It analyzes each product, how many lot is there, what is the process time. In fact, actually, it will be very useful for me. When you have a purchase order, right? When you are normally in the manufacturing world, you start with the PO. When you have a PO, then I have set expectation with the customer, saying that, okay, when I can deliver to the customer, is already expected based on your process time. But then, middle of the process, I do not know what's happening. Whether I can be able to meet my number to my customer, I can tell them that I give a particular work order, and then that work order able to tell me that, okay, hey, this work order started with 500 product, but this product are sitting in different places. And at the end, it also will tell you that what you need to improve. The insight when I ask for it, it is not just giving a report. That's a specialty, right? It will tell you that, okay, this particular step is a bottleneck. You can increase your resources instead of 2 to 3, or it can tell that you are using 2 equipment. By the way, one equipment is creating a yield issue. Maybe you can bring it down. All kind of insight it can give you. So it understand. I know it will take at least a minute. Okay, it's not going because it does all the work, right? It's not only just running a report. It's figuring out dynamically. That's why it will take. On top of it, then Cloud has an option that you can create a PowerPoint. Not only that is also need to be done. That way it will take a few minutes. This is one use case. In the meantime, I can able to also show you, maybe if I launch another one, how we are building even UI screen. So I can able to show you that use case also in this complete. Meantime, if you guys have any question, I'm happy to answer. It's going to take at least 1 minute. So if you guys have any question, yeah.
The Fab Orchestrator 1.0 model that you're showing, is it a frontier model that you're just renaming it, or you have built it from scratch?
No, it's all built from scratch. So it's not that that's what I want to tell you, right? Because as I told you, when I started, right, I've been running the company 15 years. So then people always say, like, for example, big data came. Oh, I Hadoop engineer, right, to solve the problem. In fact, at that time, it interestingly, I took the problem, I call like, Zillow. Everybody use Zillow here, right? So what I did was, okay, I want to do something like Zillow using like, my data engineer. We build the product on like garvalue.com, Garmin housevalue.com. We build it. So basically, it's the same like model. But I'm not able to take that product into the market because, right, India has a different problem. Data is an issue. And then also we figured out that it has a value, right? Real value, and then, whatever the book value. We are able to do it. We are able to do it for 8 cities, right? But then beyond that, it's taking it to become a problem. Then we converted that into real appraisal. So same product, but I converted that into real appraisal. What it means, if you look at it, everybody buys house here. But India is a little bit different. If you go to the appraisal here, you run one format. It doesn't matter. You apply from Bank of America, Citibank, anybody. I'm an appraiser. I have my format. I'll give you. But India is not like that. Okay, if you're applying in the SBI, you have different format. Okay. Like if you go to the Canara Bank, different format. So we figured out how to template it. Now the guy need to do the appraise, and then he has to pick up saying that I'm doing it for, I'm doing it for, let's say Canara Bank. It's put it in the template. In fact, just a FYI, so we are now converting that project also into AI. I think Mr. Ravi is there in the back. Ravi. Yeah. So thanks for stopping by. In fact, actually, like I run an engineering division, then I think we transform that product. He is also one of our investor on the product. So that basically he is taking that into AI now. So we are basically similarly, that's what we thought that how we can do it. We build it from the scratch. Now it's, as I told you, this platform not only for MES, you can connect any database. So like that way it can work for ERP, or for PLM. That's what we are doing. So, okay, that question, hold on it. I'm not the expert. You can ask the question to Jyoti. Okay, so that's the reason I was telling you, right? So already the result came. So that's the reason I didn't hire somebody. In fact, actually, Athena, I have almost 6 or 7 AA experts working, including one of the experts is here. So they are working for my customer. Okay. So, but when I want to build the product, that's why I thought, okay, I really need to work with the expert. That's why Jyoti came out to play. So this model is developed by him. So if you have any deep question, he is there to answer. So you can see that it's already created the PowerPoint. You can download it. So, right? You can already see, right? So it's already saying that you have 9 active labs, 7 different steps. Even what percentage of rework, even though 2, it can also give you that what percentage it gone through. It goes through every step. You can see that in more detail about the total unit and lot of the rework. All those you can able to see that. So this is how that Fab Orchestra does. Okay. So any question? And also it's giving, as I said, right? Finally, it's not only just the report, it's giving you action what you need to take, what you need to take to adjust the number. So all those can able to get it. Okay, so I have, in fact, actually, many people may not know, because I don't want to run it, but I can show you the wafer map. Because if you work in industry, there's a semiconductor industry, So building this UI using my developer, it takes long time. But I can give the prompt, but as I told you, right, it is not going to come out expected result in one go. So you basically, that's what I was telling you, right? As an expert, domain expert, you understand what is the outcome. So instead of you give the requirement to the developer and say that, hey, I need a wafer map screen, I have bunches, I have center, I have call them some of them center bunchy, some of them I have off bunchy, you go and create a screen. Right? You need to write a USR requirement, and then that guy comes with analysis or gives analytical ways, and then you come up with, okay, my timeline is going to be 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. This I built it within 10 minutes while I was in the conference, just nothing to do. I was just prompting, I was able to do it. I can reproduce this also. So basically, when I'm telling that, okay, take the product and then build me a wafer map. Initially, it did not come with the circle. It came, all of them came, then it came out of the circle. Then I told them, oh, no. like in a wafer mean it's a circle. I want you to put all of the bunches inside the circle. Then it arrange it in order left to right. Right? Then I need to tell them that, okay, now just redo this because my, like the center line is line like a row number 4, which is my, like, we call them like a row bar. Bar number 4 and 5 put in the center, rearrange it, it's done. But I didn't tell them that there is a center bunchy, right? And there is a like an off bunchy. All those AI figured. It given me, like, for example, if you look at it, right? The roll over, you can see that says it's a center bunchy. So if you go here, it's off bunchy. All this information I didn't give. It's built it for me. In fact, I even built one of the UI screen also. Okay. This is kind of our data in this screen. In fact, the special thing I like it, I never given them data entry. It is a mandatory field also I didn't give. It figured out these are the mandatory field. Then when you type it itself, it says that, okay, 4 out of like 3 or like 2 out of 4. All those informations like figured out by itself. That's a nice thing about it. So, but it is not a 100% working model. Then after that, my engineer will take over. Okay, now when I'm submitting, I'm going to call this function. I'm going to validate it. So what I'm trying to say is, the way the tool is built is going to be your, like, it's going to be your back pocket that you can able to, like, whenever you're like doing a programming. So instead of you do everything, it does helps. This is how I'm able to scale up 4x, right? As I told you, right? Only 2 products only I train. I train like Op Center. I train some other product which is like critical manufacturing. It figured out, okay, it's a manufacturing. In fact, industry also, once I tell them it's a semiconductor industry, it understand. Even if I tell, another good thing is about it, right? I can able to change the color scheme also within 5 minutes. When I got this screen, if I don't need the color theme, I can tell them that I'll just say I'm like use the Siemens.com color theme. Then it goes and read. If you guys have, I don't want to bore you, but I can able to tell, like, show it to you guys if anybody interested. So we can go through it. So that's what I want to like hear. Yes. Okay.
And what is the ROI? Because AI, everybody hypes about AI.
So there's no API here. Okay. Just in a simple plain English, agent doesn't need an API. Agent just gives an instruction. So it's all functions based on instruction. As I said, you could imagine all practical purpose. There's another human. You cannot touch and feel. That's the human system. So whatever you think you are doing, the same thing is the agent is doing. So there's no API. ROI, it depends on, it's a very broader term. We need to define when we say ROI. So the primary objective here, one is productivity. So I'm doing 100 products in a day. I want to increase this 1,000 products. That's a productivity. Efficiency, just repeat the same task. As a human, we tend to make mistakes. Here, there's no such things, right? It's more efficient. So those are the things you could see in the productivity, either in terms of ROI, there is a productivity, or efficiency, cost, etc. So it's based on how the client is going to see this one. From our side, the primary ROI is productivity and efficiency, cost.
You mentioned the for every problem we have a solution. Yes, every problem has a solution. Every lock has a key, right? So, like every lock has a key, right? So every problem has a solution. We cannot go for every solution to AI because it's going to cost us involved. Definitely cost is involved.
Yes.
If the problem is complex, like agents, right? If the problem is complex, it's worth investing that, right? It's not about quantity, it's about quality. At the same time, cost is involved. And like very repeatedly said, like recently Anthropic, right? Eating up all the tokens for these things. Like simple things, we should be able to do it. Human in the loop is definitely there. The thing is, how much of that AI we are going to see so that we are balancing the cost, right? So that is the main key factor.
So the cost point, I can directly answer this one. Correct. If you always depended on an LLM or a model, the cost is always high. Correct. So that is, I would say, fundamentally a wrong decision. Correct. Why? In order to move away from LLM and bring a different approach, that needs advanced skills. And I don't think that such skills exist in the market. People are still learning. So what I meant to say, if you noticed my conversation, I said that the intent and context determines what I should do. At the time, I'm not calling an LLM, I'm writing a code. The code is nothing but the logic or rules that I want to execute, correct? The decision of what rule and what logic to be executed, it's made based on your prompts. If you go in that approach, you don't need to depend on LLM. And that's when your cost is very high. In this approach, for Fab Orchestrator, we use an approach called on-the-fly MCP. On-the-fly MCP, that means your prompt, which drives the intent, also sets the context. We use Cloud Code to write the code on the fly, deploy the server on the fly. We don't make an LLM call. The code is the one that's going to execute. If we are going on an LLM base, obviously there's a request token, response token, input, output, everything. And that is not the case in this case, the low cost. Okay. We can take it offline and discuss as needed. I'm quite interested to understand. We can talk.
Okay. Adding to your question, right? I asked the same thing to Jyoti also, right? How we can, prevent retain the cost. In fact, traditional way, right? You know how many people you staff will, right? So you can give it to everybody can run a report. When you go to the meeting, that way conflict, right? The guy, what I given a condition is different, what you given a condition is different. Then they are going to find out, okay, whose data is fine, right? Same problem will be here also. That's why I'm asking Jyoti, I think he's helping us now. So there will be a power user. Once the power user run the report, then it will convert it into a dashboard. So the next time, so automatically when they run the report, it's refreshing the dashboard and will be done. That way we are controlling two costs. Our model does it. That way I'm not going to use the token, there is no retrieval token, right? So that's why I'm controlling the token cost also. And then also give the reliable answer to the customer that they don't need to push in my data, right? Those are the things I think, as I told you, right? This is the two my brain working, right? I'm working from purely as a domain experience, what my customer wanted. He is coming from his hat and say that, hey, as a AI, how I can solve. So that's how it's as I told you, right? This product, it's 1 year. As I told you initially also when I started, whatever I tell him, Jyoti says, that is not a AI, that's a ChatGPT. I even told Kumar, I may need a 3-month time to understand what AI can do, then go back and talk to him. In fact, literally I paused, he knows, I paused him like that. He was thinking that why Senthil didn't talk to me. I literally paused because I need to understand a little bit more before I go talk to him. I think then the combination works. That's what we want to give you. This platform is really powerful. People want to use it. Thank you.